A chilly afternoon at the crowded cafe, the clatter of coffee cups and quiet chatter filling the air. Amid the buzz, a small determined figure hopped carefully on one leg, balancing a tray with a sandwich and juice. She looked around nervously, her eyes finally landing on a table occupied by a man and his little boy. With a soft, hopeful voice, she asked, "Can I share this table?" The man, a single dad with kind but tired eyes, glanced at her for a moment. Something about her courage, her quiet smile, made him pause. Around them, people hurried past, lost in their own world. But here, in this small moment, time seemed to slow. The little girl shifted slightly, unsure if she had overstepped, while his son watched curiously from his chair. What happened next would change the course of their day, and perhaps something deeper in their lives. The single dad's reply, simple yet unexpected, left the girl stunned and everyone nearby whispering in surprise. Would he welcome her, or would she be left standing alone, her tray trembling in her hands? This is the story of an unlikely meeting, a moment of courage, and a reply that no one could have predicted. The answer is coming, but not just yet. The man finally smiled, a small, gentle curve of his lips, and gestured toward the empty chair. "Of course you can sit here," he said, his voice calm but carrying a warmth that surprised her. The girl's eyes lit up, and she carefully placed her tray down, still balancing on one leg. She was quiet, almost shy, but there was a spark in her gaze, a resilience that made him want to know her story. The single dad glanced at his son, who was fidgeting with a toy car, and whispered, "Say hi." The boy waved timidly, and the girl hesitated before giving a tiny, polite smile. For a moment, the cafe felt smaller, almost private, as if this table had become its own little world. As she settled, the man's mind drifted back to why he was here in the first place, an important meeting that had been cancelled. A day that was supposed to be ordinary, now disrupted by this unexpected visitor. Something about her reminded him of the importance of kindness, of noticing people even in passing moments. The girl, meanwhile, nibbled at her sandwich, her gaze occasionally drifting to him and his son. There was a quiet tension in the air, a curiosity neither of them could ignore. Who was she really? And why did it feel like this small encounter was about to change more than just their afternoon? The man watched the girl quietly, noticing the careful way she adjusted her balance every time she shifted. He wondered how long she had been managing life on one leg, what challenges she faced that no one else could see. His son, sensing the quiet tension, asked, "Does it hurt?" The girl paused, her eyes flicking between them, and shook her head. There was a strength in her, a determination that made him admire her silently. At the same time, the man's phone buzzed with messages from work, urgent matters piling up, reminders of responsibilities he couldn't ignore. Yet, as he glanced at the girl, he realized that none of that seemed to matter in this moment. There was something about her presence that made the usual rush of life fade into the background. The girl's tray shook slightly as she reached for her drink, and he instinctively moved closer to steady it, his protective instincts kicking in. For her, this simple act of sitting at a table with strangers was a small victory, but for him, it stirred memories of his own struggles. As a single parent, trying to balance care, work, and life's unpredictability. Around them, the cafe hummed with life, yet the bubble around their table felt separate, charged with unspoken questions. Why was she alone? Where were her parents? And what unseen hardships had shaped the courage in her eyes? The answers lingered just out of reach, building a tension neither of them could ignore. The cafe grew busier, the clatter of dishes louder, but around their table, a quiet tension lingered. The girl's eyes darted toward the door every few seconds, as if expecting someone, yet she remained seated, gripping her sandwich tightly. The single dad noticed the nervous flicker in her gaze, and a knot formed in his chest. Something wasn't right, and instinctively, he wanted to protect her. His son, oblivious to the deeper undercurrents, began chatting about school, his voice breaking the heavy silence. The girl tried to respond, but her words faltered, her confidence wavering for the first time. The dad leaned closer, offering a reassuring smile, but inside, questions swirled. Why was she alone in a crowded cafe? What circumstances had brought her here? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the corner of the cafe, causing both of them to jump. The girl's tray wobbled dangerously, and he instinctively steadied it, his heart racing. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Something unexpected was about to happen. At that moment, the cafe door swung open, and a shadow fell across their table. The girl froze, her small body tense, and the man felt an immediate surge of protectiveness. Whatever was coming, he knew it could change everything in an instant. The air was thick with anticipation, and for a heartbeat the world seemed to hold its breath. The shadow at the door didn't belong to anyone he expected. Instead, a woman stepped in, her eyes scanning the cafe with urgency until they landed on the girl. The little girl's face drained of color, and she instinctively clutched the edge of the table, her single leg bouncing nervously. The single dad's protective instincts flared immediately. Something about the woman's expression, sharp, demanding, and worried all at once, made him tense. The woman hurried over, lowering her voice but clearly stressed. "I've been looking everywhere for you. You can't just wander off like this," she whispered, glancing between the girl and the dad. The girl's lips trembled as if she wanted to speak but couldn't, and the man felt a new layer of conflict pressing down on the table. He had only just begun to understand her, to feel a connection, and now this sudden arrival threatened to shatter the fragile trust forming between them. Meanwhile, his son looked back and forth, sensing the tension but too young to understand the full stakes. The cafe seemed to grow smaller, every passing second heavy with unspoken questions. Who was this woman? Was she a relative, a guardian, or someone more complicated? And what would happen if the girl had to leave immediately? The man's heart raced. In that instant, it became clear that this encounter was far from ordinary and the simple act of sharing a table had opened the door to a story far more intense and unpredictable than any of them could have imagined. The woman finally knelt beside the girl, her voice softening as she said, "I'm so glad I found you. You shouldn't be out alone like this." Relief and fear mixed in the little girl's eyes, and she leaned slightly into the woman's side. The single dad watched, heart pounding. Realizing the tension wasn't over but the immediate danger had passed, he offered a gentle smile, trying to bridge the gap. "It's okay," he said. "She's safe now." The woman glanced at him, a flicker of gratitude in her eyes, but there was still something unspoken, some deeper story behind why the girl had been alone in the first place. The dad's mind raced, piecing together the courage it had taken for the girl to approach strangers, the resilience she carried on one leg, and the invisible struggles no one else could see. Just as the atmosphere seemed to settle, the girl suddenly spoke, her voice clear and surprising. "I wanted to sit with you because I knew you'd understand." Her words hung in the air, simple yet loaded with meaning, leaving the dad and even the woman stunned. Before anyone could respond, the girl reached into her backpack and pulled out a small envelope addressed to him. His hand trembled as he opened it, revealing a note that changed everything he thought he knew about why she had come here, and why their paths had crossed that day. The cafe seemed to hold its breath, the story taking an unexpected turn just when it felt complete, leaving the single dad and the audience utterly stunned. The single dad unfolded the note slowly, his eyes scanning the neat handwriting. Inside was a simple message, a thank you for showing kindness to a girl who often felt invisible, and an explanation that the girl's mother had been ill, leaving her to navigate small challenges on her own. His chest tightened with a mix of relief and admiration. She had taken a risk simply to share a table, to connect with someone who might understand. The woman smiled at the dad, a quiet acknowledgement passing between them. "She's brave, but she also needs people who care," she said softly. The little girl's gaze flicked between the two adults, her usual caution replaced by a tentative trust. For the first time, the dad realized that even small acts of kindness could have ripple effects, that noticing someone's courage could create bonds stronger than circumstance. His son, now fully engaged in the moment, reached over and held the girl's hand, a gesture of acceptance that made everyone laugh softly. The cafe returned to its usual hum, but at that one table, something had changed. Hearts had opened, connections had formed, and a simple question, "Can I share this table?" had transformed a routine afternoon into a story of courage, trust, and unexpected friendship. In that moment, they all understood. Sometimes, the smallest gestures leave the biggest impact.